Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Kiyan.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where you blew it, because this week we watched The Hand of Fear.
Written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin.
Directed by Lenny Mayne.
And aired in October of 1976.
Just October. We're still down to 1 month air dates, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think Bob Baker and Dave Martin wrote The Three Doctors is the most prolific one that I can remember that they've written. I know they've written a couple scripts.
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah, apparently, actually, the enemy was going to be called Omega in this serial. And they're like, wait a minute, we wrote The Three Doctors, we can't call it Omega. So they scrapped that.
Yeah, why do they keep doing that? You know, they were about to call, what was it? Seeds of Doom, Seeds of Death. And they're like, wait, we already did this.
Well, I mean, as the show goes on longer and longer, it becomes increasingly difficult to come up with original concepts. It's been going for, 13 years at this point?
Yeah, but the least they could do is, not slap the same name on everything. Which, I mean, they haven't, but they almost did, I guess.
Yeah, and apparently the original...
the Master of Fiction, and then the Master.
Well...
That doesn't really count.
Yeah. Anyway, apparently the original version of the script had the Brigadier going out in a blaze of glory by kamikazing himself into an alien spaceship.
Yeah, it would have been better than what we actually got, probably.
But that doesn't actually happen because, like we said, the last time the Brigadier appeared, he's not going to appear till, the 7th Doctor's era, so...
Yeah.
Good old Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart. He does meet the 5th and 6th Doctors in books/audio dramas, though.
Yeah.
I think he meets pretty much every incarnation up to the 11th, at least at this point. Except, well, I mean, the first is only in the Three Doctors, so I don't really count that as meeting.
It counts. Anyway, the serial starts with the Well, it actually starts on an alien planet.
Yeah.
A cold...
Oh, wow, Castria spelled with a K. Sorry for interrupting, I just found that out now.
Yeah, no, I was like, what? It starts with a K? When I saw it starts with a K, I was like, wow, starts with a K.
Anyway, go ahead.
I guess that's a common... I guess it's a common misconception to think that it starts with a C, but... Yeah, it starts on some cold-looking alien planet in what looks like an igloo, I guess. I mean, it does.
Right.
And some robed figures are freaking out about who knows what.
Yeah, they have a ship flying out into the depths of space, I guess, and it's supposed to be obliterated, and they're not sure if it's far enough away for them to obliterate it with a 100% success rate of destroying whatever's inside. Do they mention that Eldred is inside?
No.
Or not? No,
it's pretty ambiguous, at the beginning, and you don't really find out what's happening there until, episode 3 or 4. So, yeah.
Yeah, so... Anyway, I guess they're running out of time because it looks like they're dying because the guy at the control panel kind of just dies all of a sudden. And the other guy runs over and just shoves his body out of the way and takes over. And is communicating with whoever's on the other side. It's like, there's a 1 in 3 million chance that the destruction won't work. And he's like, we have to take that chance. So they do it, and this being Doctor Who, that 1 in 3 million chance totally happened.
Yeah. So the ship blows up, and then it cuts to the Doctor and Sarah materializing in what else but a rock quarry.
Except this time they don't try to hide it. They come out and says, where are we? And the Doctor's like, in a rock quarry somewhere.
And it turns out it's an explosion testing ground, and some figure far off is waving at them to get out as fast as possible. And they just look over and they kind of wave back, and they're like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, and there's a siren, and the Doctor's like, what was that, Sarah? I can't hear you over that siren. And then Sarah's like, wait, siren? The Doctor's like, oh, run! So they run, and there's an explosion, and Sarah gets covered in rubble.
Yep.
The Doctor somehow doesn't.
He makes it, and he, calls to the attention of the people around that Sarah might be dead. So they go try and dig her out, but she's okay, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And, she's covered in rubble, and you see, I saw I was like, one of those rocks kind of looks like a hand. That's really weird. And then I'm like, wait, this is called the Hand of Fear.
Yeah.
So that probably plays into it, and then it did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, she picks up the hand and then gets knocked out, I guess, and the Doctor, and then remove the hand, from her hand without realizing that she's actually taken a ring off of the hand and is concealing it in her
On her
fist.
hand.
Yeah.
In her hand.
There's a lot of hands in this cereal. So they take her to the hospital. Candid shots of an ambulance just driving up to the quarry and then driving away with the doctor and Sarah inside.
Not the only stock footage used in this serial. Actually, the explosion was stock footage, most likely.
Yeah, I don't think they had the budget to just start blowing up rock quarries in this show.
You never know.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe they do.
They did do on-scene explosions in the Green Death, pretty sure.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that was like a couple years ago.
On-scene filming in this serial. In fact, the on-scene filming was so important to this serial, they got permission for it before they even wrote the serial.
Did they?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because they wanted to use that nuclear research complex so badly that they asked before they even wrote it. But anyway, so we're getting a bit of ahead of ourselves. The doctor and Sarah get to the hospital, and the doctor meets this other doctor named Dr. Carter after being examined by some other dude who only shows up in episode 1 and then has no bearing on the plot after that.
Yeah. The only purpose he serves, come to think of it, is to let the doctor know that Sarah's pretty much fine.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be checking on Sarah, but he just leaves Sarah alone for most of the day. Anyway, the doctor meets Dr. Carter, and they're kind of investigating the hand and slicing off fragments of it and looking at it under a microscope, and Carter's confused because it looks like it was once living, but it couldn't possibly be living because it's rock, and...
Right, the doctor deduces somehow, deduces, I forget how, but he deduces that, yeah, how many times am I gonna say deduces in this one sentence? Yeah, he finds out that somehow the hand has survived an explosion, and that's why it was sent to Earth or something like that.
Yeah, I think he says it's like a silicon-based life form, which is why it's like rock, because after being severed from the rest of the body, I guess it crystallized and solidified into a rock.
Yeah, not that when it's actually attached to the body it looks any different than a rock, but yeah,
Spoilers.
We don't find that out until later. But yeah, meanwhile, Sarah has gotten up and is...
Well, you forgot about the doctor just scamming his way into getting an electron microscope to the hospital, but anyway, yeah. Then Sarah gets up and makes her way out.
Yeah, and starts saying, Eldrad must live.
Oh yeah, and she blasts Dr. Carter with the ring powers.
Yeah.
It's the first Doctor's magical ring that showed up for two serials. Yeah, she blasts Dr. Carter and goes out, and no one knows where he's gone, but she's gone. But the Doctor and Dr. Carter are investigating the sample, and apparently it's absorbed radiation from the electron microscope, and the Doctor realizes that Sarah's probably taking the hand to a nuclear power facility. Don't know how he actually got to that conclusion, but...
Yeah, he does that a lot. Getting to conclusions that most people wouldn't get to, and you can clearly just see that it's just to advance the plot.
Well, at least he jumps to the conclusions pretty quickly and just goes with them.
Yeah.
At least they don't try and explain it or anything.
I guess. Well, Carter he's been blasted, so I guess that somehow transfers the power of the ring hand.
Well, later the Doctor says that the ring contains all of Eldrad's DNA. So
I don't know. Carter has just been infected by whatever Sarah has.
Yeah, come to think of it, what about all those guards that Sarah just blasts on her way into the facility? Like, do they all get infected too?
Maybe they're all servants of Eldrad themselves.
Because we never find out. Sarah just kind of blasts her way through the facility and gets in. Dr. Carter follow. Yeah, they follow. That's it. They follow.
Yeah, into the facility.
They get chased because they think that the Doctor and Dr. Carter are the intruders, but at some point, the Doctor and Dr. Carter get captured and taken to the control room where they reveal that no, Sarah's the actual intruder, mainly because Sarah's like on a monitor just inside one of the nuclear reaction chambers.
Yeah, they issue or they tell everyone to evacuate because someone has opened chambers that they shouldn't have.
They do that a lot.
Yeah, they do. So everyone's evacuating, and they're like, "Wait, Doctor and Dr. Carter, why are you not evacuating?" So then that's when they start, trying to capture them or whatever. And Sarah has just, I guess, holed herself up in, the deepest chambers of the nuclear reactor and kind of just sits down and says, Eldrad must live.
Yeah, I'd like to make a note of the emergency announcement that goes, evacuate, evacuate. This isn't a test. This is an actual emergency. Evacuate. And then it goes, I will repeat that. Evacuate, evacuate.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Just says, I will repeat that. I thought that was weird. Anyway, yeah, so the doctor and Dr. Carter go to Sarah. Dr. Carter just has a moment of Eldrad must live and tries to attack the doctor and kind of falls off the scaffolding, I guess. I think this is actually into episode 2.
Yeah, this is episode 2.
Episode 1 ends with Sarah in the chamber. And
just sitting there.
Sitting there. And the hand starts to move, actually, at the end of episode 1. And into episode 2...
That's why she brought the hand to the nuclear reactor.
Yeah. Carter falls off the scaffolding because he tries to attack the doctor, and the doctor's like, whoops.
Yeah, he tries to attack him with a wrench, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, the person in charge of the reactor is named Watson, I think? Something like that?
Watson, something with a W.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was.
Yep, neither do I, so...
I'm pretty sure it's Watson.
Watson, yeah.
Yeah. So Watson is in charge, and he's trying to get Sarah out of the reactor, obviously. But the doctor says he can handle it, so he talks to Sarah, and, he obviously realizes, if he hadn't already before, he realizes something's controlling her. So
yeah, he goes through the ventilation shafts.
Yeah, this is before Carter dies, actually.
Yeah. Because then he goes through the ventilation shafts into the chamber, and Sarah's like, what? And he, I guess he knocks her out.
Yeah, he,
Or dehypnotizes, no, he dehypnotizes her in the decontamination room. He just knocks her out and throws the hand in the tub, and they make off. He opens the door from the inside, because the door was locked from the inside, which is why they couldn't go through the door.
Yeah.
So he unlocks the door.
Yeah, Watson, meanwhile, I think makes another announcement saying, like, hey, doctor, is everything all right? And did you notice while he was making this announcement, a fly just landed on his face, and he completely...
No.
You didn't notice that?
No.
Yeah, a fly, I'm pretty sure, unless it was just a very fly-looking grain on the film, but No, it was definitely a fly. It just lands on his face, and good on you, whoever played Watson, for not breaking character at all.
Unless it wasn't a fly, so he couldn't break character.
No, I'm pretty sure it was a fly. Like, go back and watch the scene. Yeah, pretty sure it was a fly that landed on his face.
Okay.
Interestingly enough.
Anyway,
it's not actually that interesting.
Yeah. They get Sarah to the decontamination room, and the doctor dehypnotizes her. She drops the ring inside the nuclear chamber thing, and no one really notices because they didn't know she had the ring in the first place.
Right. Yeah, no, actually, just as an aside here, come to think of it, I like how everyone kind of just doesn't really care that Carter just died. Like, I mean, they mention it, but they're kind of just like,
none of them knew Carter except for the doctor.
I know, but wouldn't it kind of be a big deal if someone fell off the scaffolding and died in their nuclear reactor?
They're dealing with an emergency. They decide to nuke the facility. Like, you really think they care?
Yeah, they should. I mean.
Watson seems to only care about not having the facility blow up and devastate the countryside.
Well, actually, one thing I wanted to mention about Watson is he's actually, well, until episode 3, I guess, is a pretty cool character because, one, he doesn't just blindly go along with what the doctor says, which is understandable. Like, why would you? But at the same time, he's not one of the usual characters we get who just completely disagrees with everything the doctor says until the last minute. He kind of has common sense.
They also humanize him by having him call his family. Like, when they think it's gonna, when he thinks the facility's gonna blow up, he like calls his family and he's like, "Hey, can you put mommy on the phone?" No, I'm okay. Just put mommy on the phone. He's like, "Hey, I'm just letting you know I'm gonna be at the office for a while. Just got some stuff going on." She's like, he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. Just, goodbye."
Yeah, as soon as that happened, I was like, he's gonna die, isn't he? But then,
he didn't actually.
That didn't happen.
Which I'm glad about. would have ruined the emotional undercurrent of the ending. It would have upstaged it, so to speak. So I would have cared more about Watson dying.
Then the thing that happens at the end? Seriously? He was on screen for like 10 minutes. I mean,
Yeah, but they gave him a whole family and everything, not like Anyway, yeah, getting into spoiler territory.
Maybe they just did that because they needed to fill out 3 minutes of the episode, for all we know. Anyway.
Well, I mean, they do spend... okay, well... So they send in... The doctor realizes there's a ring on their hand, so they send in this other guy to go see if he can find it. Driscoll.
Yeah, Driscoll.
And he's like, yeah, no, I didn't find it. Ha ha.
Eldrad must live. What?
What? What was that? Did you hear something?
But yeah, he asks Watson if he can go back and look for it, and Watson's like, yeah, sure. So he goes back and I guess places the hand deeper into the
He puts the hand in the decontamination room. He puts the hand in the thing where they put all the irradiated materials for a while.
Yeah.
And then when some random guy with no name is like, "Hey, this is kind of sketch," the hand's like knocking on the door and stuff, and he calls up the doctor. And the doctor said,
"No more monkeys jumping on the bed." No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I just had to.
Yeah, no, I knew where that was going as soon as I said it. Anyway, the doctor says, yeah, I don't know why the hand's in there. I better come down and check it out. Then the guy gets knocked out by Driscoll, and Driscoll steals the hand and makes his way back into the nuclear chamber. And then they're like, evacuate, evacuate.
And this is when they decide to nuke the nuclear reactor.
Well, episode 2 ends with Driscoll going into the deeper part of the nuclear chamber and possibly causing an explosion, but the explosion gets... the doctor reveals that the explosion's absorbed by Eldred's hand.
Yeah, and this, we've already said it, but I think this is specifically when they state, on screen that, yeah, the hand's absorbing radiation. If you hadn't already guessed.
Yeah. So the doctor and Sarah leave with Watson because everybody else is evacuated, and they go out. It's like, we've got 10 minutes to leave. They're going to nuke the facility. Just want to note, not a nuclear physicist, but I feel like 10 minutes is not enough time to put a good distance between yourself and a nuclear blast.
Yeah, probably not.
Especially when you're nuking a nuclear facility.
Yeah, it's probably not a good idea.
I mean, but they do it anyway. They try at least, and they go away, and Watson's like, get down. Also, plug your nose and open your mouth so your eardrums don't blow out from the blast. Also, don't look at it because you'll probably go blind. And the doctor's just standing on top of the car doing none of those things. Like, yeah, nothing's going to happen. And nothing does. The entire explosion's absorbed by Eldred.
Right, the doctor explains it as the explosion going inward instead of outward, and I was like, isn't that just an implosion? I mean, there's a word for that. You didn't really need to spend 2 minutes explaining it. Anyway, yeah, Eldred absorbs the blast, I guess, significantly speeding up its regeneration. And
also killing Driscoll.
Yeah.
So now Eldred has a body, and she's like, she looks in the mirror, and she's like, what is this form? What is this?
Yeah, 2 things I wanted to mention about Eldred here once she regenerates. One, I didn't think she was female before she regenerated, which I guess ties into what happens later, but, I mean, I guess they were using the male Eldred voice for when it was just a voice?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because but even once she turns female, her voice sounded male to me. I guess kind of like the thing in the Web Planet. I don't know. Calling back to that happened over a year ago.
The what? The Animus?
Yeah, the Animus. Anyway, also her design was, one, really good, and also really scary, in my opinion. Especially with the blue glowing eyes. I don't know, I was actually creeped out by that.
Yeah, she looks kind of crystalline and
yeah.
Rock, and she looks like a silicon-based life form, which is what she is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they didn't really need to do any intricate costuming on the rest of the characters, so I guess they just put it all into this, but she looks like a human geode, pretty much. And,
human geode.
Yeah, the doctor and Sarah confront her and try to find out what's going on. And Eldred, who can't trust anyone, apparently, tells them the history of her planet.
The supposed history of her planet, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, find out later that it's all a lie, but...
Spoilers. So
pretty sketch story, even as she's saying it. Maybe that's just hindsight, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the story goes something like her planet was she basically created these solar walls and created life on her planet Castria, and then another race declared war on them, and they went to war, and they destroyed the solar barriers, and life was getting destroyed. Then they exiled Eldrad for some reason that she doesn't really explain, which is the most suspicious part of her story. She's kind of like, yeah, they exiled me, and the doctor's like, but you gave them life. Why would they exile you? And she's like, no, they just exiled me.
Doesn't she give some BS explanation or something? I don't really remember, but yeah. She wants the Doctor and Sarah to take her back to her planet, but then they tell her that it's been millions of years probably since
150 million years.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
an exile 150 million years in the making. I don't know. I'm trying to make a Jurassic Park reference here. But no, anyway.
Yeah, she calls on the Doctor's duty as a Time Lord to... She says something like, it's the duty of a Time Lord to protect, like, the native race of a planet if something there is a danger to them, so she wants the Doctor to take Eldrad back so she can go and protect her planet or whatever. Like, the Doctor's like, I'll take you back, but not in time. I'll only take you back to Castria, but it'll have to be in the present day, and that's the deal. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, so she takes it. I guess the Doctor does that not to meddle with, the timeline or whatever.
That, and also because Eldrad would probably just destroy Earth while she's there. As you find out later, she decides to do.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, Watson tries to shoot her with a gun, and she zaps Watson. The Doctor's like, I'm not taking you back if Watson doesn't live.
It was actually pretty funny. Watson's he sees Eldrad, and he's like, oh god, what is that? So he shoots it. It's actually pretty funny just how badly the bullets fail to do anything to Eldrad. She literally just stands there with a blank expression, bullets bouncing off, and Watson's like, oh, shoot.
It's like when the Brigadier...
shoot.
Oh, gosh. Didn't we make that pun already?
Yes. Probably multiple times.
It's like in a Robot when the Brigadier says, I wish just once there'd be an enemy susceptible to conventional warfare.
But yeah, Watson... You think Watson's gonna die, or at least I thought Watson was gonna die, but no.
We all thought Watson was gonna die, but then the Doctor's like, if Watson dies, I'm not taking you back, Eldrad. And he'll, make up a way to kill her, I guess, since otherwise she'll, kill everyone on Earth.
I guess.
I don't really know what his plan was, if she didn't agree to that.
Well, it's not really apparent that she's an insane murderer at this point. But she is.
I mean, yeah.
So
She basically has no regard for human life and getting herself to regenerate, though, so...
Yeah, I guess. The Doctor does say, before she regenerates, that, it's an alien life form stranded on Earth. It's probably just scared, but we find out later that that's probably not the case.
Well, anyway, the Doctor gets Eldrad back to the TARDIS eventually, and then there's a scene where Watson's like, no one's gonna believe me.
Yeah, pretty sad, actually.
No one's gonna believe me.
Yeah, because he's telling one of the workers who, I guess, didn't evacuate with everyone else and kind of
just... She kind of just wanders in and is like, what's going on?
Yeah. And she didn't see Eldrad, and pretty much no one else saw Eldrad. And yeah, everyone's probably going to think Watson's crazy unless he just keeps quiet for the rest of his life.
He just becomes a conspiracy nut. Just starts searching for mentions of the Doctor throughout history. He's like, there he was again.
Yeah, well... Really wouldn't be hard to find him. I mean, he's worked at UNIT, so...
Actually, I think that's the plot of the first episode of the reboot. Some crazy guy's or one of the episodes of the reboot, some guy's like, this guy's been seen everywhere. He has to be a time traveler.
Pretty sad, actually. Doctor just ruined someone's life.
Yeah, he gets, convinced that the Doctor's a time traveler, and when the Doctor shows up, yeah, maybe I am. Maybe I'm not.
Great.
Anyway, enough about that.
Yeah, they take Eldrad back to Castria, and she's immediately shot. Well, not immediately.
Yeah, they get inside, and there's all these winds blowing, and it's freezing, and the Doctor's like, oh yeah, the radiation's higher than normal. We should mention they're using the secondary console room for some reason. Don't know why the Doctor decided to revert back to using the secondary console room as the primary, because it kind of looks terrible in my opinion.
I don't think it looks cool. It's a nice change of pace. A good change of pace, since I think it actually looks kind of cool.
Nah, kind of just looks like the inside of a Victorian household to me. Doesn't say sci-fi at all. Doesn't say TARDIS to me. Just looks like a wood-paneled room.
No, it says TARDIS to me because, the Doctor's got tons of random stuff shoved away in the back of the TARDIS, so...
Yeah,
he
through
just
the
has this
back
other.
door. This is the cleanest console room we've gotten. It's literally just the console. And some hand railings that seem to serve no purpose.
Well, other than decoration. I mean, you said it looked Victorian, so.
But why? Just why? I don't understand. The old one was fine.
Hey, all things have to change. For better or worse.
They go back to the old one at the end of the season.
Yeah, all things have to change for better or worse. Right. But it looked to me like the room they were in on Castria was the same room from the beginning.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be.
Yeah, it's either supposed to be or it's not supposed to be, and they just only had one set, so that's what we got. But yeah, Eldrad opens up a door to some sort of underground corridor or whatever, and is immediately shot by what looks like an arrow, and that's when episode 3 ends. So, huge change in, direction for this serial in episode 3. Didn't think they'd be going to an alien planet here, to be honest. But they did, so that was kind of nice.
Yep.
I think, like we mentioned before, it's kind of nice when they switch it up instead of just drawing out one conflict for like 4 or 6 episodes.
Yeah, there was nowhere else this conflict could go on Earth anyway, so thank goodness they went to Castria.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unless Eldrad went on a killing spree or whatever, which we mentioned could happen, but...
Yeah, anyway, in episode 4, she reveals that the arrow that hit her has this acid in that she developed and there's no antidote for. It's real science right there.
Except she says that there's something that can slow down the process underground or whatever, I guess.
It's something that she could regenerate in.
Yeah.
Back into her native form.
Yeah, pretty sketchy explanations here, Eldrad. If your story wasn't already bad enough.
The Doctors get increasingly more suspicious as they go through the tunnels because there's all these traps that are only designed to work on silicon-based life forms, and Eldred's like, oh yeah, the other race that invaded us, they were silicon-based too, and the Doctor's like, strange coincidence that there'd be 2 silicon-based life forms in the same galaxy. Really interesting.
Yeah, he says that they're exceedingly rare, and that 2 going to war with each other would defy all odds, but I guess he kind of goes along with it for the time being. He's pretty sure he knows that something's up. I mean, I knew that something was up. maybe that's just hindsight, but yeah, no, I actually kind of liked where they went in this episode, because for once they don't reveal, or they don't resolve, the cliffhanger of, oh no, such and such is gonna die in the first 1 minute of the next episode.
Yeah, they spend the whole episode doing it and then slam you with this big revelation at the end. Throughout all of that, there's these scenes of this computer talking to someone. It appears to be someone sitting in a chair like, should we kill them? Traps? Should we activate the deathly traps? Just waiting for your command. Just let us know. Yo. Just say something. You're like, wonder why he's not saying anything. So Sarah almost falls down a cavern and dies.
Yeah.
The Doctor saves her with his
crevice or something like that.
With his arm, I guess. And they get up and they cross the bridge and they're about to go into this room. Eldred's about to put a ring into the socket. The Doctor's like, no! And takes the ring from her and puts it in. And then reveals that there's like a beam crossing the doorway that would just vaporize whoever walked through. I guess the Doctor didn't want Eldred to open it and have the Doctor accidentally walk through and vaporize himself. But yeah, so he's got the ring now, which will become important in a second.
So they make it to the chamber, I guess, where Eldrad is supposed to regenerate. I guess that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And she lies down on an uncomfortable-looking stone.
It's just a stone, actually.
Slab, yeah. It's just a stone. And she's like, yep, here's what's gonna happen.
The Doctor's like, what? I don't understand these controls. Guess I'll just hit buttons till something happens. And she says something pretty much exactly to that effect. He says, like, I'm just guessing right now, Sarah.
So yeah, another piece of stone comes down from the ceiling and crushes Eldrad into a pile of smoldering ash.
And Sarah's like, we've killed her! What was supposed to regenerate her killed her. The Doctor's like, don't really know about that. She said she couldn't really be destroyed.
And she's not. She comes back into the room through another door in her regenerated form, which is now male.
Yeah, and Sarah's like, wait, Eldred's a dude? She's like, I'm so confused, and I'm like, me too, Sarah. I'm just totally lost.
Yeah, the doctor tells Sarah that Eldrad based itself on the life form it first came in contact with when it was on Earth, which was Sarah, so I guess that's why it was female
Yeah.
for a while. I guess it's not really male or female. I'm pretty sure it's just an it, because it's just a stone.
It's like Alpha Centauri,
Yeah.
who we just called she anyway for the whole time, because it was easier.
Yeah.
Anyway, Eldrad sees a message on the wall from Prior King, what's his name?
Rokon.
And he's like...
Rock-on, I guess, because they're all rocks.
Wow. Wow. Anyway.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Rokon is
you
like...
know it's bad if I admit that it's bad.
Rokon's like, Eldrad, we knew you would return. Eldrad's like, Rokon, I'm coming for you. He like charges into the king chamber, I guess.
The throne room.
Eldrad reveals that Rokon was king when Eldrad was exiled. And they're like mortal enemies, I guess, and he rushes in to go kill Rokon, and Rokon's already dead, and Eldrad's like, no, you've defied me, my revenge.
Yeah, I think this is when Eldrad reveals what's actually going on, finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, he tells the doctor and Sarah that pretty much everything he said was a lie, and that he was actually the one exiled from his people for trying to...
kill them all, basically. Because he was the one who destroyed the solar barriers.
Yeah, I think wasn't his, motivation that he wanted the Kastrians to conquer everyone in the galaxy, and they were like, nah, we don't really want to do that, Eldrad, so he decided to just kill all of them and do it himself.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's what it was?
Yeah, and he assumed that some of them would live underground, a miserable existence till he came back, and that they could clone more Castrians from them, I guess. Anyway, Eldrad is like, oh yeah, but we have this, gene bank, basically. This life vault, whatever he calls it, something vault. And he goes in, there's nothing there, and he's like, what is this stupidity? Nothing!
Yeah, except way more intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually noted that down in my list of quotes that I'm keeping for the Fourth Doctor era.
Rokon shows up on the screen then and is like, yeah, none of us really wanted to conquer the galaxy, and after we exiled you, we all decided we were just going to kill ourselves, so we all killed ourselves and destroyed the vault. Eldrad's like,
yeah.
I'll use another race then. Earth. They have the anger, the means. I'll just go back. Doctor, take me back. And he's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, the doctor still has the ring.
And Eldrad's like, my ring. How did you get that? And he's like, well, I just took it from you earlier. And he's like, give it to me. The doctor's like, okay, and just chucks it into the room and is like, quick, Sarah, run.
So they run back and they set a trap for Eldrad.
Yeah, they string the doctor's scarf.
Right.
The doctor uses his scarf for like the 4th or 5th time to trip someone up in his tenure so far. There was the dude in Robot. There was the guy last week, I think, and there's this week. That makes at least 3.
And in God, I don't even remember what it was called. The fake town one.
The fake town. Oh, the android invasion.
Yeah, doesn't he use it there?
Yeah, I think so.
At some point.
So that makes 4. He's used the scarf 4 times to trip people. But yeah, Eldrad trips and falls into the cavern. And the doctor's like,
doesn't die, I guess.
Yeah.
Presumably. Actually, I didn't look up whether or not Eldrad dies,
well,
but
Sarah asks the doctor in the TARDIS if Eldrad is dead, and the doctor says almost certainly not.
Yeah, almost certainly not, but there's a chance. So, if for some reason he doesn't come back in any audios or books, then, maybe he's dead, but maybe he's not.
Or maybe he just doesn't come back. I would assume he wouldn't die. I mean, they had to, send him off on a spaceship to another planet and blow it up to kill him in the beginning. You would assume that a fall off a cliff wouldn't kill him, or they would have just done that.
I mean, I didn't note him on my death count or anything.
Yeah, I mean, neither did I.
So, yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, and Sarah's like, pity that you gave him the ring. He's like, no, I didn't. Look, I've got it right here. And Sarah's like, what did you give him? It's like the extendo stick or whatever. The stick he used to trip the beam earlier. And then he chucks the ring down into the cavern after Eldred.
What if Eldrad just picks up the ring afterwards? I guess it wouldn't really matter, but because he'd be stranded on Castria pretty much. But
in a cavern, but he could create new life. He could recreate the solar walls like he did before.
Maybe he
He
comes
has to
back.
get out. He has to get out of that cavern first.
Isn't he pretty much immortal? I mean, he has all the time he needs to climb up. Anyway, the Doctor and Sarah head back to the TARDIS and leave.
Yeah, and the Doctor like, oh, something's weird with the TARDIS. Better fix it. So he's like fixing it and asking Sarah for all these tools, and Sarah throws this tantrum like, "You never listen to me, Doctor. I'm leaving. I'm gonna go pack my stuff." And the Doctor's like, "What? What was that?" He's like, I never know why you get all worked up at all these things. But she's off screen when he says that. She doesn't really
Right.
hear him.
She says, yeah, she pretty much gets flustered. I mean, it wasn't out of character because they've been leading up to this, but at the same time, she kind of went from 0 to 100 in like 1 second.
Yeah, went 0 to 100 real quick.
But, I didn't really mind because they've been leading up to her wanting to leave anyway,
Yeah.
so... I guess it was, maybe the straw, maybe the Doctor not listening here was the straw that broke the camel's back. So, whatever.
But anyway, you feel like it's going to be another fake out, but then the Doctor gets this weird call from Gallifrey, and Sarah comes back in and is like, "How did you know?" And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "You're going to have to leave, Sarah. I can't take you to Gallifrey." And she's like, "What?"
And she changes her mind. She's like, "Oh man, Gallifrey! Come on, I was just kidding. I want to go to Gallifrey."
I mean, I'm pretty sure she was just kidding all the time when the Doctor was like, "Yeah, sorry, can't take you to Gallifrey." She was like, "Oh, I guess this is it then. I guess this is goodbye."
Yep. She's holding all her stuff, including a potted plant and the stuffed
owl.
Stuffed owl, right? It was an owl.
And the white, shawl / whatever she wore in the previous serial for some reason. Just stealing clothes from the TARDIS.
Maybe it was originally Liz Shaw's.
Wow.
Yeah, it was also pretty bad. Anyway, yeah. She, I guess, comes to terms pretty quickly with the fact that she's gonna leave.
I know, they don't really say much. They kind of just... They don't really say anything. They're just kind of like, I guess this is it. Don't think either of them really wants the other person to leave, but I think they both kind of realize that this is the point where it's going to have to happen.
Yeah. The Doctor lands the TARDIS in South Croydon, I think it's called.
Supposedly. He actually lands in Aberdeen. Which I guess seems really weird. Like, why would the Doctor land in the wrong place? He tells Sarah that it's South Croydon, like Hill Street, South Croydon. She's like, "Oh, it's my home." He's like, "Yeah, it's just down the street, actually." And she's like, "Okay, Doctor, don't forget me. I'll send you regards to the Brigadier and Benton." He's like, "Yeah."
And Yates. No, not Yates. Sorry, Yates.
He doesn't even work for UNIT anymore. For all we know, he could be dead now.
Yeah.
She gets off and she kind of starts whistling. Apparently, Liz Sladen couldn't actually whistle, so Lenny Mayne actually did the whistling, and Sarah...
Yeah, it looks really obvious that she's
Sarah
not...
just kind of pantomimes it.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious that she's not whistling.
Then she realizes she's actually in Aberdeen, not South Croydon. He's like, "He blew it! He blew it!"
She looks at this dog that's just sitting there on the street and she's like, "He blew it."
She doesn't look too upset about it, though.
Yeah, I guess she thinks this is a fitting... departure, that she winds up in completely the wrong place. I guess she thinks it's kind of funny, so she just ends with her walking down the street.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure the Doctor did it on purpose, to be honest.
Why?
Because earlier in the episode, he specifically says, "Hey, you live in Aberdeen." And then at the end, he's like, "Yeah, South Croydon, you're home." Like, I don't understand.
But she says South Croydon, that's where I live.
Yeah, the Doctor's like, "Yep." Also, like,
What
the whole travel / broadens your mind. I think you wanted to give her one last adventure to send off on.
Okay,
Just drop her off in Aberdeen instead of Croydon.
I'm not too familiar with,
Not sure how far Aberdeen is from Croydon.
Isn't Aberdeen in Scotland?
It's an adventure. Travel broadens the mind.
She probably just got a cab.
In Aberdeen?
I thought Aberdeen was in... I don't know. I thought Aberdeen was in Scotland.
We could just look it up. Let's look it up.
Look it up right now, yeah. Not really too familiar with the lay of the British land.
The lay of the land.
Yeah, it's in Scotland.
Aberdeen's in Scotland.
I don't know where South Croydon is.
Okay, look. I guess we'll look up South Croydon.
I mean, Sarah's English, right? So...
South Croydon is in Greater London.
Great.
It's one lost adventure.
That we don't get to see.
It's actually a sly reference to that in like an episode that actually aired like last week for the reboot. the companions made the Doctor all these cards for things to say in bad situations, and one of them says, like, "I'm sorry, I should have known you didn't live in Aberdeen and you lived in Croydon."
But didn't you say the Doctor makes some remark like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you live in Aberdeen"?
Yeah, he does.
I don't remember that.
It's like when they're in the when they're going through all the traps, I'm like fairly certain he says, "Hey, you live in Aberdeen, don't you?" And she's just like, "Whatever." I don't think she hears him.
Huh. Yeah, but I mean, why would he say that when Sarah specifically says she lives in South Croydon?
Because he's gonna drop her there at the end.
Huh, that's interesting.
Oh god, did I spell it? No.
No, you spelled it right.
Oh,
This is capital A. We're control effing Aberdeen on the
transcript. Yeah, apparently he doesn't say it. I was pretty sure he said it, but I still like to think he dropped her there on purpose as one lost adventure to send her off on. It's also a fitting departure for her, considering the Doctor seems to drop her in the wrong place a lot. They never really did get to Florana.
Yeah, no, they didn't. Maybe off screen? I don't know.
It's just a novel that's just entirely just Sarah and the Doctor on vacation with no plot, except that they're just hanging out in like a vacation resort in Florana.
Well, you know, if it is a novel or something, that something's inevitably going to go wrong and they're going to have to fix some problem, so...
I liked the write-out.
Yeah, I did. It was decent. Wasn't the best, but most certainly wasn't the worst.
Yeah, I know I said it was pretty sad when I texted you, but I guess sad is the wrong word. I think I meant to say it was emotionally impactful, since it wasn't entirely all sad. It was kind of just bittersweet.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
what made it what made it more bittersweet was, I think, the fact that they just barely said anything to each other, and they just both knew that it was going to happen. Sort of like Joe's, when the Doctor knows Joe's going to leave, and he just kind of leaves and drives off into the sunset.
Yeah, this was less sad than Joe's, though. I mean, this I would say even is happy, I guess, which isn't bad.
Yeah, because, I mean, Sarah's going to go on and live a happy life, and she seems to be...
as far as we know.
She seems to be pretty content. She seems to have enjoyed her time with the Doctor, and the Doctor... I think the Doctor's more sad than Sarah because the Doctor is forced to leave Sarah out of necessity for not taking her to Gallifrey.
Yeah. I mean... It's okay though. I mean, not all write-outs can be like super sad, like Joe's or like Jamie and Zoe.
Well,
like,
yeah, obviously.
Does anyone really want
not
that
really?
all
No.
the time? Yeah. So this was fine.
Yeah, it's good to have some that are sort of upbeat.
Yeah, I think it fits Sarah's character more.
Fit all of their characters, and I guess that's partially because Tom Baker and Liz Sladen rewrote part of the script on set. Bob Baker and Dave Martin specifically left the write-out. For Robert Holmes, since he's the script editor, he would have a specific way to write it. So he wrote it, and then when he gave Tom Baker and Liz Sladen the script, when they were filming the scene on the day, they kind of rewrote it a bit. So I guess that's why it feels more natural than, Dodo, just like, hey, tell Doctor said bye. Okay, bye. Also, apparently in the original version had Sarah being killed off, but Liz Sladen was like, oh, thank God that didn't happen because I really didn't want Sarah to be killed or married off.
Yeah, neither did I.
Yeah, neither did I. I think we've had enough companions married off, to be honest, for now at least.
Yeah, still waiting for more companions to get killed off, though.
What, like Katarina and Sarah Kingdom?
Yes. Anyway, yeah, I mean, you said this was kind of emotionally impactful, and I think part of that is just because Sarah was a pretty long-running companion.
Yeah, seasons-wise, she's the longest running, I think.
Yeah.
I think the wiki states that seasons-wise, she's the longest running. Episodes-wise, Jamie is the longest running, and then years-wise, the longest running is someone we haven't met yet.
Yeah.
Because of the way that series aired over multiple years and seasons and whatever. Yeah, Sarah just kind of barely edges out Joe by 2 serials, seasons-wise. Because Joe had 3 complete seasons, and Sarah had 3 seasons plus 2 serials.
Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So, yeah, she lived through 2 Doctors. She makes a snide comment about the Doctor regenerating again when he goes to Gallifrey and is like, nope, not going there to regenerate.
Yeah, I made a note, no, Sarah, that's not happening for another 5 years.
Not happening for 5 years, wow. Yeah, Sarah Jane, I guess this is our retrospective.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for the past 5 minutes. She would go on to star in that the one episode of the K9 offshoot, K9 Adventures or whatever, and she would get a whole own spin-off.
Yeah, I mean, she's...
in the reboot.
Yeah, I mean, she's probably, the most popular companion, right?
I think so.
I mean, she's the only one with her own spin-off, right? Pretty sure?
Yeah, unless you account Jack Harkness as a companion, which I mean, I guess you would. He like travels in the TARDIS for a couple of episodes. Because he's the lead of Torchwood, so the Torchwood spin-off is
Yeah,
basically the
okay.
Jack Harkness spin-off.
Yeah.
I mean, Sarah also gets her own spin-off audio series, so
Yeah, I think it's safe to say she's the most popular companion.
most popular classic companion at least by far.
Yeah, I guess.
People who have only seen the reboot, like, I mean, I guess a testament to her popularity is that people who have only seen the reboot would recognize her name, and also the fact that they brought her back for an episode of the reboot.
Yeah.
Which actually, now that I've seen all of her run, that episode becomes a lot better.
Huh.
Just didn't really understand that episode the first time I saw it. I was like, I don't understand all these references they're making.
Well, that's good at least. Yeah, she was probably one of my favorite companions too, and I know we mentioned when Jamie went out, like, yeah, you're probably gonna end up liking the companions that you quote unquote spend more time with or are there for a longer amount of time. But I liked Sarah more than Joe, I suppose, more than the previous companion.
Yeah, I liked her more than Joe, even though I actually pretty much liked Joe more than you did.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason why the longer running companions will be more popular is because because they're longer running, but two, also because because they're longer running, you have more time to kind of bond with the character and learn their backstory and, relate to them.
Yeah, of course.
But
I don't know. I'd say Sarah was kind of like a female Jamie, to be honest. She was kind of snarky a lot of the time, like Jamie was.
Kind of, but I don't feel like her friendship ever escalated to the point that Jamie and the Second Doctor's was. And I think that's just because Jamie was there for, like, the entire Second Doctor run except for one serial.
Right, which brings back the point that I always make during write-outs is that I really do think the show would have been better had it been one companion or one set of companions per Doctor.
Possibly, but I like the fact that sometimes they carry over companions between Doctors because I think it gives you a good metric to compare differences between Doctors, because their interactions with their companions will naturally be different, and I think it's more interesting to see how two different Doctors will react to the same character than it is to just see one set of characters for the whole Doctor's run.
I guess. I just hope, and I know they don't do this because of the, the statistics we mentioned before, but, hope they're moving towards longer running companions like Sarah. But yeah, they're not, because she's like one of the most long-running companions, so I guess that all just goes down the drain.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that Hinchcliffe and Holmes's run on the show is actually coming to an end soon. I think this is their final season, or they finish sometime in the next season. They hand it over to somebody, and Douglas Adams take over, I think, immediately following that. So whether or not the companion even survives that transition, is a point of contention that I guess we'll address when we get there.
Yeah, I have no idea who the next companion is either.
I know her name.
Interesting.
But I mean, I guess we'll find out when that companion is introduced.
Yep. Doubt she'll live up to Sarah.
You're just assuming that it's a woman?
You said you know.
Yeah, okay,
knew
that's
her
a
name.
good point. I did kind of give it away there. Her name. Yeah, I guess we're on a string of female companions right now, I suppose. 'Cause we had Liz, then Joe, then Sarah.
Well, we had Harry Sullivan, but he was there for like the blink of
season.
an eye.
Yeah, in the span of Sarah's run, it was like a blink of an eye. But yeah, so, and then female, and then I don't. Oh wait, yeah, we have a female, and then we have a female, then a female. Yeah,
You know the next three companions?
Their names,
Oh,
just their names and gender, I guess.
okay.
Yeah, I like Sarah. She got a fitting right out, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing her again when she shows up again, and also when we inevitably watch the Sarah Jane adventures when we get there.
Yeah, when we inevitably finish or catch up on Doctor Who and have nothing more to watch.
Yeah, then we'll watch Torchwood and the Sarah Jane adventures.
And K9.
Yeah, that is one episode. We can do that as a special whenever it takes place in chronologically to the show.
I didn't know that had one episode.
Yeah, just a pilot. Didn't really do well.
Man, must have sucked.
Yeah. Aren't you excited to watch it? But yeah.
Yeah. That's
Sarah. I think I'm gonna miss her. Next serial, at least. Probably be weird seeing the Doctor on Gallifrey, no less. We haven't seen Gallifrey since the War Games,
Right.
And even then, it was only briefly because the doctor was on trial. So
Yeah, so we really haven't seen anything of it other than
Yeah.
a few rooms, really.
Mm-hmm.
Which, one, were in black and white, and two, look just like any other room you might see from the black and white era.
Yeah, so I guess we're saying goodbye to Sarah.
Yeah, maybe the Doctor's next companion will be from Gallifrey. I don't know.
It's a possibility. The end, I guess. Email us, thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, and notes about Sarah. We spent like 15 minutes right now discussing her. I don't know why I was keeping track of the time, but check us out on YouTube at Trust Your Doctor. Check us out on iTunes at Trust Your Doctor. Leave a rating if you like the show. Tell your friends about the show. If they like Sarah Jane, they should just listen to every Sarah Jane episode we have out. Just in a row. Probably take you a couple hours. Many hours, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Check us out on Facebook at Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter, TYD Podcast. Follow us on Twitter. And next week, we find out who the Doctor's next companion is, or at least I do, in The Deadly Assassin. Maybe his next companion is an assassin. I don't know. But until then, the end.